Hello everyone, welcome back. So, I got a set of antlers here, and these were gifted to me from Craig over at Georgia Trapping and Fishing. And I cut these tines off to make whistles, and I have these left. Now these are a little bleached out, they're not chalky, so they still polish up good. And what I want to do is make a set of ferro rod handles. So what I have here is a 3/8 by 6 inch Nathan 4071 ferro rod. And how I got this was Mark from Eat Carbs Outdoors had, if I remember correctly, I think his handle broke on a ferro rod. And I said something about an antler ferro rod handle, and he took me up on it, and he ordered a 3/8 inch ferro rod, just like this one, from Nathan. I had it sent directly to my house. But when it came, there was 2 of them in there, and he said this one was a gift to me for making him what he calls the Dominator. I love when he uses that thing. So again, Mark, thank you so much for this, brother. I love it. And I have here a 5mm high-speed steel striker that we're going to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you along with the process. I'll try to leave out the boring stuff. So basically, get away there, fly. Shoot, fly. All right, so we have the 2 antlers. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off these brow tines. And again, I won't bore you watching me cut them or anything. I'm just going to use a regular hacksaw. But I'll bring you back once I cut these off, and I'll show you what the next step is. All right, so I have them cut off. Now the next step is to figure out how long do I want them. So basically what I do is I just put them in my hand, and I feel where they are, okay? I could put them like this or like this, but I have to figure out where I want them, what it's going to feel like when I strike it. So always go on the longer side than the shorter side, because obviously once you cut it, you can't add anything back. So I'm going to say probably right about there, and I might shorten it. All right, so we'll make them both the same size. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that off with the hacksaw, and I'll bring you back. All right, so we have them cut. Now, you have to make a decision. Do you want the ferro rod and striker to come out of this end, or do you want it to come out of this end? Now, what I want is I'm going to sand this all down, so I want this to be the bottom. Okay, so this is the way it's going to be. So now the next step is we're going to start to clean this up with a drum sander on a rotary tool. All right, so let me get that set up, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. All right, so here's my rotary tool. This one is a Wen. If anyone's looking to get one of these, this one I got a couple years ago. I paid $22.89. Free shipping. This is a variable speed. Excellent value, excellent tool. So it's been going 2 years strong. Very pleased with that. Now a couple tips. Always wear some kind of dust protection when you're working with antler, because the dust is just all over the place. And one of the things that I like to do is wear the dust protection. I also have just a little fan, and I'll have the fan blowing the dust away, and that helps tremendously. So let me show you how we get this going here. All right, so there you have a little quick sample of how you're going to do this. Now you can take this down, get it pretty smooth. I'm probably going to do that. I'll leave some of the bumps and texture down here, but I'm going to kind of take it down a little bit more there, refine this, and when they're both done, I'll bring you back. All right, so here's where we're at with about 20 minutes of the Dremel with a number 60 grit drum, okay? So I got it to where I want it. Now you could go as far as you want. I mean, you could take all these little bumps out, but I don't like to do that. I think that adds character, plus we're going to do another step. And as you can see, one is a little thicker than the other. So this one's going to lend itself to being the ferro rod, and this is going to be the striker. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is, if you look in here, you'll see right here, I'm not sure of the technical term, if this is called like pith, like, like what's in a tree or a twig, but this is soft, okay, as opposed to the outside, which is very, very hard. So I believe this is where the blood would come up through the antlers and feed the velvet when the antlers are developing. I think that's what it is. I could be wrong. Anywho, so both of them have that pith in there, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole right in the center of that pith. It's actually very soft. And what we want to do is we want to figure out how we want these to look. Do we want them to look like this, coming out this way? Do we want to put them in where this looks like this? But I think for this set, I'm going to have them come out in that direction. Actually, the same way that I cut it off. They sort of look like the fire poker handles that I made. So now this is pretty small for this ferro rod, so I have to be very careful when I'm drilling that I don't blow out through the side. So what I like to do is I start off with a 1/8 inch drill bit, and I drill it in, and I'll bring you back when I drill that so I can show you why I start off with a 1/8 inch bit. All right, I'll be right back. All right, so I have technically a pilot hole started with a 1/8 inch hole. Okay, get it as centered as you can. Now here's the reasoning behind that, for me anyway. What it does is it lets me see how the alignment's going to be. All right, so if I have it aligned the way I want it this way, and if I have it aligned the way I want it this way. Now if I went right at it and drilled a 3/8 hole and the alignment was off, let's say it's stuck in there. Let's say it looked like this, or like this. It's very hard to correct that once the hole is, the proper size that you're going to fit the rod in. But if you drill it with a small hole, like a pilot hole, you can make adjustments. You can get the neck size up, and you can correct the mistake that you made as far as what angle you got. So I nailed this one on the first shot. I don't always get it correct the first shot. There's times when I have to correct it. But that's why I like to start off with a small hole. So now I'm going to finish drilling my holes. I'll just progressively get larger and larger. I don't like to go right to the 3/8. So I'll just keep making the hole larger and larger, progressively larger drill bits until I have it where it's the right size for this. Now we want to remove the coating at the bottom of this, the same depth that the hole is going to be, so the epoxy sticks, okay? So I just do that on my belt sander. You could do it by hand, however you want. So let me get these holes in for this and for the striker, and I'll bring you back. All right, so I got my holes drilled. I got lucky. My first attempt, everything is lined up the way I want it. So that's basically what they're going to look like. I don't know why I do that. All right, so now the next step is going to be to round this off, okay? So basically the same way I did it with the Dremel, I'm going to do that on both ends. And then when I have that done, I'll bring you back. All right, so I got everything rounded off. Just, do it as much or as little as you want, and I'll tell you one thing. Don't try to make them look exactly the same, same thickness. It'll drive you bananas. You got to remember, it's an organic material, so let them be what they are, okay? So we got our striker that goes in here. Got that lined up just the way I want it, okay? And then we have our ferro rod, fits right in there. And we're coming along nicely. Now, I have a couple decisions to make. Am I going to polish it on the polishing wheel? And I already nixed that idea in my head. What I think I'm going to do is, I'm going to faux paint these. I have other videos out there if you're interested. I think I got a whole playlist on my deer antler projects. But I'm going to faux paint these. And let me show you what I'm going to do. So here's another antler. See this chocolate brown that's on there? Well, I'm going to kind of faux paint this and all around this pedicle, similar to look like that, to make it sort of look like that. Okay? Now, before I do that, I'm going to change the drum. That's a 60 grit drum. I think I mentioned that. I'm going to go to like a 120 grit drum just to get some of the scratches out. I do not go crazy unless I am going to polish it. I will not go crazy trying to get all the scratches out. Because if I was going to do that, I never would have started with a 60 grit drum because it leaves a lot of scratches. But again, this is organic. The deer antlers themselves have scratches in them. I mean, they're pounded on trees. So I don't go crazy, but I'm going to take it to a 120 drum. I'll do this all over again, what you saw me do. And then possibly to a 240, okay? And then I'll just hand sand it with probably a 320 maybe, just to get, most of the big scratches out. And then I'm going to bring you back and we're going to do a little faux painting. All right, so it's all sanded up. And now we're going to do a little faux painting. Again, you don't have to do this part. I mean, you could just put a clear coat on it. But I like to add this little touch. So I have here some plaid and some burnt umber. And most of this is just going to be done with my fingers. All right, so what we're going to do is take a little bit and just start pushing it in. A little brush here too. Get it in there. Because you got to remember, it's going to be down into the little nooks and crannies and not so much on the proud parts, because that's where it would be rubbed. Don't worry about if you get it on there, because I'll show you how you're going to get that off. Alright, so now I have just a damp paper towel. I'm going to start rubbing this in. It's as simple as that. And now you could put a little, you know what? I don't think I'm even going to put any plaid on this one. I kind of like that. So that changes that into that. And when a clear coat goes on there, you're going to see this pop. Alright, so I'll do the other one just like that, and I'll bring you back when they're both done. Alright, now, I don't know about you, but I think that makes it really pop. Got a little bit there, I can clean that off. To me, it just makes them look like, I don't know what the word is, fresher, newer. I don't know, it's a good contrast. Even put a little bit right here where there was, again, these I believe were bleached as far as maybe they were hanging outside for a while. They're not considered what you would say like chalky, very far from that. They're just kind of bleached where all the, you know, the natural color kind of disappeared out of that. But I think they look really good now. Now the next step is I'm going to put a couple coats of just a lacquer. Okay, now you could use anything you want. You could paint it on, you can use varnish, you could use polyurethane. I just happen to have some spray lacquer, clear lacquer gloss, and I'm going to spray these. Now I do that before I put the ferro rod and the striker in. Okay, just in case I have any issues with it dripping or whatever, I don't like it, I'm not committed to it. I could always sand it off and start again. So I'm not going to bore you watching me spray lacquer on these things, but I'll bring you back when they are all done. Alright, so I decided to, when I show something after I painted it, or in this case lacquered it, that I was going to cover it with the famous Florida silkworms from the farm of Bounty and do a unveiling. So here it is. Oh yeah. Wonder if you can hear that rain going on outside there. So I think they came out really nice, and like I was telling you, that lacquer in there makes that pop. And I'll tell you, doing that faux painting in there, I'll tell you what, if you didn't know, you'd be pretty hard pressed to say that that was painted. Because, I mean, to me at least, it really looks like that that's the way it was. So the next step is to epoxy in the striker and the ferro rod. Now I'm going to give you a couple tips. Actually, one tip. Make sure the hole for the ferro rod is not too tight. Okay? And what I mean by that is, if you have to push the ferro rod in, okay, and it has some resistance, when you epoxy it and then you push the ferro rod in, it's gonna create like an air bubble in there, and it's gonna wanna shoot back out again. And then you're gonna have to push it in, hold it with some kind of clamps or tape or something. You really don't want to do that. Anytime you glue something or epoxy something, you kind of need a little bit of space around that object where the epoxy could sit. Okay? Otherwise, you're just pushing it all out, and it really doesn't make a good bond. So you want it in there snug. Okay, again, you don't want it tight so that when you push it in, it actually pushes back out like a spring. Okay, now if you're pushing it in and it's giving you a little resistance, you could twist it. Okay, as you twist it and move it in and out, it'll release that little air vacuum in there. Okay, so that's your tip when you're gluing in, epoxying in ferro rods. Now the last thing I want to tell you about that before I epoxy it is, make sure you clean the surfaces with a degreaser, either a commercial degreaser, denatured alcohol, acetone, whatever you happen to have, okay? That'll help the epoxy stick. Ooh, look, I'm getting some raindrops on the board here. All right, so I'm going to epoxy that in, and when it dries, I'll bring you back. All right, so here it is, all finished. Epoxy set up. I think it came out really nice. Got a little thunder going out there. Now, I'm in a quandary. Do I use this on a fired up Friday? Or do I make a display and display this one? I have 3 other sets that I made that I have displayed. And I kind of like even numbers. I like the number 4. So, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm either going to use it and probably make a wax canvas bag for it, or I'm going to conceive some type of stand. I don't know, maybe wood, maybe antler, and maybe make like a table display. Let me know in the comments what you think I should do. Should I use it or should I display it? Because if I display it, I could also use it. So there you have it. I know this video was a little bit long, but hopefully it gave you some ideas. And again, you don't need to have a rotary tool. I know I just automatically say Dremel, you know, but there's other brands like that Wen brand. It was very inexpensive and it works well. You could do this stuff all by hand with a file and sandpaper. You know, the only thing you would need is a drill. But obviously having the power tools makes it go much faster. So I appreciate you coming along. I hope you got some inspiration to make a nice ferro rod set for yourself. And like always, I'm sending you all, my brothers and sisters, much, much love and appreciation. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next one.